I've created a 6-part series, and this is the emotional and psychological aspect of buying a home. Video 1 we're going to talk about is the psychology of home buying, the fear, stress, and how to win. Buying a home should feel exciting, but for most people it feels like you're running an emotional marathon. And it is a very stressful experience. We can give you all the facts, we can give you all the figures, but how does it make you feel? How do you handle the entire process? So we're going to begin with fear, stress, and regret. These are the thoughts that keep you up at night while you're trying to look for a house. So how do we handle that? How do we transform that into a positive effect? We went through the same feelings when we first purchased a new construction house. We're new construction specialists who help people just like you buy with confidence, patience, and positivity. In this video, we're not talking about floor plans or paint colors. We're talking about the psychology of buying a home, why stress hits us so hard, and how to win anyway. 6 common pressures. Now, research shows most buyers face 6 common pressures. FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm sure we all suffer with that. Decision fatigue, which is a real issue. Regret, emotional attachment, social status, and outside opinions. We're going to walk through these, and if we felt it, you're normal. These are all normal experiences. The first fear, FOMO, in action. Give you an example from one of the communities we work in. In Elgin, prices jumped 57% in 1 year. So FOMO kicked in, and buyers rushed to purchase homes. Another example is in Pflugerville. Inventory grew almost 40%, which created too many options, and decision fatigue set in. So how do we handle this? The first step to mastering stress is naming it. If you can name your fear, you can tame that fear. Stoicism is one of my favorite philosophies because it's a common sense philosophy. You're going to hear me talk about it a lot. The first one that we're going to talk about is Stoic wisdom, and this is from Marcus Aurelius. You have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. I really love that quote. Here's an example. You can't control mortgage rates or property taxes. However, you can control your budget, your research, and who's on your side. And that creates a control shift, lowers stress, and builds confidence. Now we're going to talk about the discount trap. Basically, some buyers think, if I can get my agent or lender to cut the fee, I'll feel better about the bottom line. I'm going to get into the psychology of that and why that may be a good thing, but ultimately that is a bad thing. The first thing is, I get it. We get it. That's quick relief in short term, but it's going to create a long-term stress. I'm not speaking for all agents or lenders, but what we've found is when an agent agrees to a discount rate, what may happen is that means fewer phone calls for you, missed builders incentives, especially new construction. That is a huge one. Or no one fights for you when it matters the most, especially in negotiating a good price, incentives, extra deals, add-ons, things like that. So let me give you a quick example. Saving $1,000 in fees means nothing if you lose, let's say, $15,000 in builder upgrades or a rate buy down. Warren Buffett said, quote, "Price is what you pay, value is what you get." And that is an important distinction. An example of that with how we handle new construction is, in new construction, value shows up in the negotiations that you may never see, but you will feel it at the closing. Now let's talk about emotional attachment. And emotional attachment is real. I've watched buyers fall in love with the home before they've read or understood HOA rules. That's why another Stoic philosophy comes into play that I would like to talk about. Stoic teaches detachment, to feel the emotion, but to make the decision using logic. That is much easier said than done. An example of that is in Maine, our hometown. Here's the crazy part. Cross one street and your tax rate or fees may change dramatically, which is the example of My emotions say, I love this house. But logic says, what does this home really cost me each month? Following up with that, there are two questions that we will ask along the way. Is this in my control? And number two, does this serve my long-term plan? When choosing and working with the agent, those are two very important questions because what you may like now may not fit into your long-term plan, which leads us to the first answer. If the answer is no, pause. Most people don't understand that it is okay to pause, to take a break, to let things marinate, especially if you're spending money on one of the biggest financial purchases you're ever going to make. It's important to stop and think on it. Some examples of that would be sleep on upgrade packages. Wait 24 hours before signing. A great idea of that is urgency sells houses, clarity builds wealth. And throughout the series, we're going to talk about that in detail. There's a quote from Ryan Holiday, one of my favorite authors. The obstacle in the path becomes the path. I think that's a really good thought-provoking idea and really makes me think. An example of that may be delayed inspections. And hiccups aren't roadblocks. They're leveraging points if you stay calm. Team strengths. This is an important one that I don't think a lot of agents talk about. An agent is only as good as their team. The vendors that we work with, lenders, inspectors, contractors. That's why the right network matters. As an agent, we're not your financial planners, doctors, contractors, and we don't pretend to be. What we will do is connect you with vetted pros who delivers answers when you need them. Clearer roles means fewer surprises, and that lowers stress. The long-term strategy. A home isn't just a transaction, it is a long-term move. An example of that is focus on the next 5 to 10 years, not the next 5 weeks. We really believe thinking long-term, and real estate is a great way to build wealth for the future. Patience pays. Georgetown has nearly half of its inventory in new construction. That means as a buyer, there's opportunities if you stay patient, which means short-term stress fades and long-term strategy wins. The Unplugged strategy. I really believe in this idea, and I think more people need to pull back. Examples of that include, sometimes the best strategy is just to unplug. Go for a walk, step back, and let time do its work. Some tips could include write down your worries and then write what you can control. Control gets a plan, everything else gets patience. So we understand that buying a home is emotional. It's stressful, but it doesn't have to be chaos. We've actually been there, so we understand what you're going through. With experience, patience, and positivity, we'll show you the Wilson way. Whether it's in 10 days or 10 months from now, book a Zoom call today. Let's start your plan calmly, clearly, and with confidence.